his face. He bent over, gasping for air. "They'll kill you when they find out, Kilcannon," he finally managed to stammer. "I swear they'll kill you." "I'll worry about that when the time comes." "You do that." Dingo raised his mug, tipping it vertical to get every drop. It fell back onto the table, but before the waiter could slosh any more into the mug, I slapped his hand aside. "Hey, I ain't done." "Yes, you are." "You ain't my mother, and you ain't the captain. And damned if I'll let you nursemaid me, Kilcannon. I quit." Dingo struggled to his feet, his hands clenched into fists. I stayed seated, just looking back at him. "Get up! Damn you, get up! When I'm done, there won't be enough of you left to run through a recycler." "Right." I stood slowly, keeping my hands lowered. "Let's go." "I told you I quit. I ain't going on this voyage. I never aimed to, and I won't. Not there." "Okay." My answer took a moment to penetrate through layers of alcohol-soaked brain cells. Then Dingo lowered his fists a little and stared at me. "Okay." "Sure. Let's get your stuff off the ship. You'll need it." Dingo grinned broadly, wavering on his feet. "Now, that's a saintly way to be, Kilcannon. I was wrong about you, sure I was." I plopped a credit chip on the table and steered Dingo out of the bar. We wended our way back to the ship, dodging other drunk sailors as we went. Every once in a while, the orbital port's gravity would stutter a little in our area, making me waver on my feet as badly as Dingo for a moment. That's one of the hazards of being in the low-rent areas of any port off-planet. Outside every bar in the area near the port were other hazards, men and women who looked young and cheap and pretty in the dim lighting, beckoning and calling invitations to visit the particular establishments where they got kickbacks for luring in customers. I fended off all of them. Our IDs got us onto the pier and onto the ship. Dingo paused outside his quarters, swaying on his feet as if our ship was riding on a planetary ocean. "You sure this is okay, Kilcannon?" "Yeah, no problem." "I'm gonna get my kit." "You do that." I gestured him inside. Dingo grinned and staggered into his quarters. I waited until he was almost to the bunk, then keyed in the security override on the hatch. Dingo was still turning his head to see what the noise was when the hatch slid shut and locked. I heard a roar of anger, followed a second later by the impact of Dingo's body against the hatch. Silence followed, so apparently Dingo had knocked himself out. Hopefully he wasn't hurt too badly. I had no intention of cracking that hatch before the ship was safely underway tomorrow. "See you in the morning, Third Officer Dingo." I walked down the passageway, easily seeing dark patches of mold on the overhead, even in the dimmed night lighting of the ship. The Lady Be Good badly needed a full-scale fumigation, but that was just one of the things she badly needed that she wasn't going to get anytime soon. The port inspector arrived half an hour late to give us departure clearance. As far as I knew, Dingo still hadn't awoken and started demanding his freedom, and none of the 3 new sailors had shown any signs they suspected our destination wasn't the same one they'd signed on for. The inspector gave the entry lock of the Lady a sour look, but she couldn't flunk us on the basis of that lock. I kept that working, even if it wasn't pretty. The inspector ran down the checklist. "You claim you've signed on enough new sailors to meet minimum crew requirements?" "That's right." "You couldn't be too subservient, or the public servants would ride right over you, but you couldn't diss 'em either, not if you were smart." "You can confirm they're on board from the pier access records." "There's ways to gimmick those records." "I wouldn't know anything about that." "I bet you don't." She picked a name at random. "I want to see Able Spacer Canadu in person here." "Okay." Odds had favored her picking one of the new hires, but I'd still worried she might ask to see Dingo. Dingo would come around once we were underway. He always did after any